Hello, artists. Okay, so today I thought we could do a little bit more etching practice, just like we did when we made the texture pumpkins. Okay, so the reason for this is because a lot of students didn't seem to get how to make their etchings, so we're just going to review how to do that and what to look for when you are finding surfaces to do your etching on. So the first thing that you need to do before you start any etching is you need to peel back the paper on some of your crayons. So for today's etching practice, we're going to make 6 different etchings. All right, so that means we need at least 3 crayons with their paper peeled back, okay? So then we can use each crayon twice. That way we don't have to peel the paper off of all of our crayons. So how do we peel back the paper on our crayons? Well, you want it to be peeled off about halfway, like this guy right here. All right, so how to do that? You'll want to find crayons, if you have them, that are already started peeling. Maybe you have some old crayons. You want to use those old crayons first. And you want to find the ones that maybe have been peeled back already a little bit, and that way it's a lot easier to get started. And when you're peeling, you can twist it as you're peeling, and that usually helps too. Let's see. Turning and peeling, and it's peeling off pretty good. Okay, peeled off a lot of that one, but that's okay. All right, and then if you have crayons that maybe aren't started, you can still use those too. But like I said, use your crayons that are your older crayons first. Even if it's only a half crayon, you'll want to use even your half crayons first. All right. So this is a crayon that hasn't been peeled back at all. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to scratch at the very top part here. I'm just going to scratch it down. You can see I have a little bit scratched there. I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, and then once I have that, I can start peeling kind of in the same way as the last one. And some crayons are easier to peel than others. This one is a little bit difficult, but that's okay. So again, I'm just going to scratch downward and then peel around. And you can ask your parents for their help with this if you're having trouble. And then you want to make sure that you do this over a garbage can, or you can do this over a table and then scoop up your paper garbage into the trash can. All right, I have my 3 crayons ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and ready my paper. So thinner paper is better for this, just because if you have thick paper, then when you do your etching, it won't feel the texture as much as or you won't see the texture as much as the thin paper. So I'm just using some printer paper here. All right, so I'm going to make 6 sections here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half so it's the long way, long and thin way like that. Okay, and then I'm going to match up the corners as best I can. Okay, and then crease it there, just like that. All right, let me see if I can put this down so you can see a little bit better. All right, and then I'm going to bring one side in so that it makes about half the distance. Okay, so you can see it's about half and half. About halfway. It's okay if it's a little bit off. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to unfold that and then fold the other side into where that fold is. And then crease it like that. All right, so then it should look like this. Should be able to fold it into itself like that. Okay, then you can unfold it. All right, so then you should see 6 sections like this. All right, and what I like to do is I like to take my pencil, or you can even take another color crayon, and I like to separate the sections. So let me find a color that I'm not using. What color is this? Gray. Okay, gray's fine. All right, so all I'm gonna do is just lightly bring my crayon over where that fold is, and it actually makes a really nice line there. And then in the sections where it's indented, I'm going to go ahead and just make those so that they come out. So I'm going to just fold it again so that those edges come out at me, and that way I can separate each section. Very easily. And you can even pinch your paper so it comes up like this, and then go over that with your crayon or your pencil. So when looking for surfaces to do your etching on, you want to find surfaces that are rough or bumpy, okay? So rough or bumpy. And so let's take a look around the art classroom. It's a little bit messy. Don't worry, I'll clean it up before you get here. Let's take a look around the art classroom and see what we can find to do our etching on, shall we? All right, well, I did grab a couple of things that I knew would make good etchings, okay? Like this key. So if you have anything that is mostly flat and is little like this, you can do your etching right over that. All right, I also found my eraser. I throw kindness around like confetti eraser, and the word confetti is bumpy. So I'm going to use that for my etching. All right, so let's find some more things and surfaces to etch. All right, over here, I see the drying rack, and that feels bumpy. So I could etch that. The tops, or I should say the bottoms of the stool. You see those diamonds? We could etch right there. Over here, I have a sketchbook, and on the side of the sketchbook, it has these rings, and those feel bumpy. So I could etch the rings there. On the side of this bucket, it's bumpy. Just to make sure I'll feel it. You can even hear how bumpy it is, right? So I could use that. There's so many good surfaces. I could even use the side of the wall because I feel that, and that is bumpy too. All right. Oh, look over here on this lamp. Also bumpy. All right. So there are some surfaces that look like they might be bumpy, but they're not. Okay, like this here. It looks bumpy, right? Look at the lines there. But when I feel it, it's smooth. So I'm gonna not etch that one. All right, but I think I found enough surfaces to do my etching. All right, so the first surface that I'm going to use for my etching is this key. So in order to use this little key, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it underneath one of the sections here. All right, so I can feel it underneath and it doesn't go into the next section. Great. All right, so then I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to turn it sideways. And I'm going to press sideways over where I think my key is until I find my key, and then I can go over it like that. And I rub it over my key until I get the shape of the key. And look, there I have the key. You can also do this with leaves and it looks really nice. Oh yeah, I did that in my last video with the pumpkin, didn't I? All right, I'm actually going to do this key a couple times here because it fits in the section so nicely. Oh, I can even see the words on it. It says lock. Okay, very nice. All right, I found this little speaker. It has these holes on the front, and so I thought that would make a good etching. So I'm going to put my paper over the speaker. And again, I'm going to turn my next crayon sideways and then go over that. I'm going to go ahead and just rub the side of my crayon on where the speaker is. Ta-da! Very cool. I could even, if I wanted to, fill the box with more of that. And then in order to get that to fit in the box, I'm just turning my crayon so that it doesn't get onto the next section. All right. Then I'm going to use my confetti eraser. And again, I'll put that underneath my paper in the section where I'm working. And I'll take my next crayon, turn it sideways, and rub it over the bumpy part until I see it. And look, confetti. Go ahead and do that a couple more times because I still have plenty of room in that section. Great. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do this on my rounded object. So I have another one of those buckets right here. It's actually full of crayons and things. And I'm going to use one of my crayons again, and I'm just not going to, well, I'm going to think about the pattern that I want here. I'm going to try not to have the same color next to itself. If I do, that's okay. All right, so I'm going to use my purple crayon again, and I'm just going to push or put this on my object here, my surface. I'm just going to hold my paper as I do this. All right, so there is the surface of the bucket. So next, I went to this stool and I tried to make my etching on the stool like this, but it didn't really work that well. So then I went over to this stool and I held my paper on top of where those holes were. And then I did my etching there, sideways. And then I came over to my sketchbook here. And I did my etching there a few times. So I just held my paper here and then I etched over it. Okay, so the last thing you'll want to do after you do your etchings is to just label your etchings. So I went ahead and labeled mine. I have the stool foot, the sketchbook, the bucket, the eraser, the speaker, and the key. Alrighty, so when you're done with this, go ahead and take a photo and tell me about it, or you can take a video and tell me all about it. All right, friends, have fun etching, and I will see you next time.